Good evening. Thank you for attending our forum tonight. If you'd please find a seat. We have tons of cookies and refreshments in the back. So if you haven't gotten a cookie yet, please go do that. We're going to start tonight. The first thing I need to do is thank the Burnet Chamber of Commerce. Allison McKee is here representing the Chamber. Allison? I don't see Allison. She's somewhere here. The Bertram Chamber of Commerce, Lori Ringstaff and Katie Duke. Are you here? And Damon Bowerly is from both chambers, and he's running our sound. So thank you, Damon. He's our Precinct 2 Commissioner. And I also want to thank the Burnet County Republican Women, the Burnet County Republican Club, and the Burnet County Party. We do this every 2 years during the primary season, and it seems to help the public, get more information about the candidates. So I hope you enjoy tonight. Now we'll open with prayer, and I'd like to invite our retired high school principal and current school board member, Mr. Mark Kincaid.
Please pray with me. Heavenly Father, we just are grateful that we live in a place that we can gather in this way and just to fellowship with one another and to hear what our future leaders have to say. And Lord, we just thank you that we can do so freely and openly. Lord, we thank you too for all these candidates that are willingly stepping up and serving. Lord, it's not an easy thing to do. And so we're grateful that they're willing to step forward and share what they know and what they believe. And Lord, this evening we just ask that you would just bless each and every person that is here. We thank you for all those that are responsible and the extra work that they've gone into to make this happen. Lord, we ask that you would give each person wisdom and understanding as we have decisions to make going forward. We pray all this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you, Mark. And now I would like to invite our current district attorney, Mr. Sonny McAfee, to do the pledges, and he's also going to say a few words. He is retiring, so won't be on the ballot this time.
Thank you, Carol. Before we do the pledges, I want to just say a couple of words. As Kara said, I am retiring, and I was going to answer the questions that I've had recently. Why are you not participating in the forums? I've had that question often, and I wasn't because I was evading the debates as President Trump did. That's not what I was doing. It's because I decided last year to retire at the end of this year, and so looking forward to that, looking forward to the great forum here tonight. One of the things I've got to mention is that one of the greatest honors I've had is being elected for 3 terms in this district, and especially from people in this county, in this room, that were so very supportive. It has been one of the biggest privileges of my life and my career to serve the people of this county and this district, and I thank you all for the support, and I thank you for being here tonight. And with that, I want to start out with the pledge to the American flag. Please face the flag. Put your hand over your heart. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now facing the Texas flag, please, hand over heart. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Thank you.
Thank you, Sonny. Okay, and in a moment I'm going to introduce our moderator, but before they do that, I want to address the candidates. There was a rules sheet you were all asked to sign. Have you all signed that? There was a sign-up sheet for contested federal and state candidates. Have you all signed that sheet? Speak now. Okay. All right. We are honored tonight to have as our moderator Ms. Zana Warren. Zana is the current president of the Texas Federation of Republican Women. Zaina has been actively involved in the Republican Party of Texas, Bell County, the Texas Federation of Republican Women for over 17 years. She's a grassroots core volunteer active in Central Texas Republican Women and the Texas Federation of Republican Women. Zaina was elected at the 34th Biennial Convention to serve as TFRW President 2024 to 2025. She also serves as immediate past president of the Central Texas Republican Women. She has many past services in both of those entities. Zaina resides in Killeen for over 40 years with her husband, Bob Weaver. Both honorably served in the U.S. Army. She's a Vietnam-era veteran. Welcome, Zaina.
Good evening. We are going to start with our federal candidates. They will be given the opportunity to speak in ballot order. They are Mike Williams, Representative for John Carter, I believe Mike McCluskey, Abraham Garapati, Mac Latimer, and William Abel. Each candidate will have 3 minutes to speak. Time will be strictly enforced, and the mic will be cut when time has expired. And again, all of you have registered at the front desk to speak. So I'm going to invite you to come up and speak. This is Mike Williams, John Carter, Mike McCluskey, Abraham Garapati, Mac Latimer, and William Abel.
Good evening, Burnet County. It's great to be here this evening. I want you to roll something around your head. How can you improve on the wonder of nature, on the beauty of God's creation? I've improved the beauty of a sunrise simply by sharing it with someone. Oh, yeah. How can you improve on a great idea? The idea of American exceptionalism, simply by sharing it with someone. Now, I'm Texan to the bone. I grew up in Beaumont, been in Georgetown for the past 38 years, and I've got Americanism DNA in my body. I'm a son of the American Revolution. I was born when Ike was in the White House. And I've been supporting Republican causes and candidates all my life. I'm an America First Republican and a MAGA Texan. If you can tell a cowboy from a cowgirl, you just might be a MAGA Texan as well. Now, I've got God in my heart, the Constitution in my head, and the courage to fight for him. Help me go to Washington and fight for him. I'm Mike Williams, running for United States Congress. Now let's have a little fun. I'm good on time? Beautiful. If you think barbecues and chili cook-offs are good eating, but bugs ain't, you might be a MAGA Texan. If come and take it works for you with razor wire, you might be a MAGA Texan. If you know the difference between a split rein and a bullwhip, you might be a MAGA Texan. If you think the Statue of Liberty ought to be in Galveston, you might be a MAGA Texan. I'm Mike Williams. I'm a MAGA Texan. God bless you. God bless Texas. God bless America.
Hello, Burnet County. I'm Mike McCluskey, and I'm here on behalf of your Congressman, Congressman John Carter. Congressman John Carter is the one who has the years of effective elected government experience, getting so much done due to the influence he has because it takes years to develop relationships and demonstrate capability. Who would want to sacrifice that? For the next term, John Carter will be the dean of the Texas delegation because of his depth of leadership experience. Anyone new will be at the very bottom of the seniority list that would take years to have that impact. John Carter is the one that has done and is doing. Among the many achievements are border security. John Carter led the charge on border security, helping to write the Secure the Border Act to build the wall, increase border security funding, tighten asylum laws, and catch and release, and crush the cartels. He voted to impeach Homeland Security Secretary Mayorkas and rejected the weak compromise border bill that originated in the United States Senate that would have brought 1.8 million more illegals to the United States every year. Achievement. Crime. Judge Carter partners with law enforcement to give needed resources to protect us. And I want to thank all the law enforcement that's here today. As district judge, he was known for putting criminals behind bars and handing out the toughest sentences. He passed legislation to strengthen penalties for criminals that assault police officers. He always has and always will back the blue. Achievement. Freedoms. Judge Carter is fighting hard to protect our freedoms. Democrats are trying to take God out of our lives and destroy our values. He prevented taxpayers from footing the bill for gender reassignment surgeries. Achievement. Local. Judge John Carter has always taken care of us here at home. He has brought up more than $200 million for our military bases, helped build roads and bridges, and has supported our local governments through this period of great growth and change in our community. Achievements. Because of how effective your congressman is, he has been endorsed by Governor Greg Abbott, Texas Railroad Commissioner Wayne Christian, Texas Agriculture Commissioner Sid Miller, both your state Senator Pete Flores and Senator Charles Schwartner, and many people in Bergen County, including many of our friends that are right here in this room tonight. We are only 12 days away from the beginning of early voting, and the truth is the choice is clear. The one having the experienced leadership is Congressman John Carter. There is only one choice to continue the great representation and the list of achievements in Congressional District 31, and that is by voting to keep your Congressman, John Carter. We ask for your vote and your support when early voting begins on February 20th or on primary day, which is March 5th. And we thank you so much for your support.
Good evening, Burnet County. How many of you want to vote for Joe Biden because of his experience? God will not even forgive us if we do that. My name is Abraham Garapati, running for US Congress. I'm running for the third time in the Republican primary. I'm a businessman, not a politician. I'm the only candidate in the race not taking any campaign contributions, not taking a salary if I go to Congress. I'm doing this because we have the most incompetent government today in the history of our nation. That's not working for us, American people. Texas is the last stand for freedom, folks. If we lose Texas to the Democrats, America becomes a socialist country. I came here 25 years back from a socialist country. I know what it is to live on the other side. Folks, America is in a serious crisis today, and it is sinking. And I join my fight for the American people. We have the record high inflation today. Farmers are not able to afford fertilizer. I used to go to a Subway and afford a foot-long sandwich for $5 a year back. Today, I can't find any decent meal for less than $15. We have the highest interest rates. Small business owners are going out of business because of the highest interest rates ever. Highest crime in the country. There is no grocery store left in Chicago. There is no Walmart in Portland. And they're all coming towards us, folks, and Texas is the last sane state. How can you steal stuff worth $900 and walk out of a store in San Francisco? Is this what our founding fathers built this country for? A lot of people sacrificed their lives for our country to be what it is today. We have the record high national debt. Our kids have no future if we are paying $2 billion in interest every day on the national debt. Record high number of illegal immigrants are coming into this country, and they're doing it on purpose. The Democrats want the votes, and that's why they're allowing them. You are the ones who are paying for the hotels, for the airline tickets for these illegal immigrants. They're using our schools, our hospitals. not fair for us, the American people. We have the weakest foreign policy ever. When do you shoot the Chinese balloon? Anybody has any answers? Not after it crosses our country, folks. When it originated in China, that's what American superpower is, and we should shoot that before it enters our country. Record number of high cyber crimes against our senior citizens today. Where is the FBI? Where is the government? Why do they not care about the American people? This is the most anti-American government we have in the history of our nation. And Biden is sleeping. Harris is shopping. And where is our congressman? We need somebody who can go there, give me a chance to serve you. I'll promise you I'll work really hard, fight for you, get our country back on track, and get a government that works for the people, by the people, and of the people. Give me a chance. I'll show what it is to serve the people and get our country back on track. Thank you all.
Hi, everybody. My name is Mac Latimer. I'm a combat veteran, a West Point grad, a small business owner, the former Bell County Republican chair, and also I'm a candidate for U.S. Congress for Texas District 31. We have a country that's broken. When I was in the military, I saw it. Between the bureaucracy, the corruption, and the wokeism that has become pervasive across our entire military, we have a military that doesn't function and isn't capable of fighting and winning America's wars now. But that's not the only thing that's broken. We have a federal system that's fundamentally broken. Our Constitution was designed for separation of powers. We are supposed to have an executive to enforce the law, a legislative branch to make the law, and a judicial branch to adjudicate the law. Right now, all three of those functions are done by the bureaucracy, by unelected bureaucrats who have their opinion of what should happen in mind rather than yours. That's not okay. That's called tyranny. We also have walked away from our federalist system. What's supposed to happen is the Constitution outlines 16 powers that the federal government has that are mostly foreign policy. We're talking immigration, securing the border, defense from other countries. We're talking diplomacy and trade. We're not talking about setting energy policy. We're not talking about setting education policy. Those issues are supposed to be handled at the state level. But because the federal government is focusing on those domestic issues, they don't have time to deal with the border. They don't have time to fix our immigration system. That is why we are in the crisis that we're in, is because we're not focusing on what matters at the federal level, and we're taking over the domain of the states and the domestic level. I say let California experiment with socialism. Let them realize that socialism is what's going to cause them to fall into the sea. But let Texas be Texas. Let Texas prove that freedom actually works. And that is how we are going to advance as a country. My name is Mac Latimer. My background is I am military, but I've negotiated in Syria and I've negotiated here in the States to actually get things done. And that is what I'm going to do as your congressman. Once again, my name is Mac Latimer. I'm running for Congress, and I would love your support and your vote. Thank you.
Good evening, Burnet County. My name's William Abel. I'm a retired combat veteran running for Congress. I know half the people in this room are running for Congress. I'm just one of them. So there's a couple of issues that I see that really need to be addressed and taken care of. Second Amendment is constantly under attack. Even you have some conservatives that say they support the Second Amendment, but they also support red flag laws. They support gun registration. The problem with that is Hitler did the gun registration in 1932. 1936, he rounded up all the guns of everyone that registered their guns. And then in the 40s, we all seen what happened with the Holocaust. I don't believe any law-abiding citizen should have their Second Amendment rights restricted in any way. And if elected to Congress, I will not vote for anything that will restrict any person in this room, any restrictions on their Second Amendment rights. Then we have energy independence. So did everyone in here enjoy when we were energy independent for the first time? What was that, 2017, 18? We got more recoverable oil in this country than any other country in the world. We have more than Russia, Iran, Saudi Arabia, or any other country, but yet we get a lot of our oil from Saudi Arabia. Why? We need to go ahead and stop putting restrictions and allowing us to use the resources we have right here at home. The next one is kind of personal to me. So the vaccine mandates. I don't believe anybody should ever be forced to take a vaccine, especially not one that hasn't had the prior testing. So personal story on my part, my wife had an autoimmune disease. So her immune system was attacking her liver. It was in 21, it was around November of 21, she was told by her liver doctor she either got the COVID vaccination or she'd be taken off the transplant list and put on hospice care. So we contacted every elected official, Abbott included. Nobody would return any of our calls. Nobody would return any of the emails. So it got to the point where they said, if you don't take the COVID jab right now, we're going to take, or if you don't get it scheduled, we're going to take you off the list and put you in hospice. She reluctantly got it. When you're on the transplant list, they give you a score between 6 and 40. Higher the number, the worse off you are. She was at an 18. She took the jab. She went from 18 to a 32. I was taking her to the ER on a weekly basis. Thank the Lord she went ahead and got the transplant when she did. Otherwise, she would not be here today. And then the border is a complete disaster. We need to build the wall as a barrier, get more Border Patrol agents, go ahead, use the technology available, and stop catch and release. Go to catch and deport, or go ahead and go to remain in Mexico. All right, that's all the time I got. So my name is William Abel, running for Congress, and I hope to talk to you later. Thank you.
Okay, I am honored to introduce to you the non-contested county district candidates here for Burnet County. If you're in the audience, please stand and give your wave. District Judge, 33rd Judicial District, Judge Alan Garrett. County Attorney, Eddie Arredondo. Sheriff Calvin Boyd. County Commissioner, Precinct 1, Jim Luther Jr. County Constable, Precinct 1, Leslie Ray. County Constable, Precinct 3, Scott Davis. And County Constable, Precinct 4, Millicent Missy Beinsteel. Okay, and so now we are going to go ahead and continue with our forum this evening. And the first two gentlemen that are up are our County Constables, Precinct 2, Donald Brian Knowles and Gary Adams. Gentlemen, would you please come up to the stage? Okay, gentlemen, we will start this forum in ballot order and then switch who goes first for each question. The candidates will each get 2 minutes to introduce themselves and 1 minute to wrap up at the end. They will have 1 minute to answer the questions and 1 minute rebuttal if they choose to rebut an answer from an opponent. So, with that, Mr. Knowles, would you please introduce yourself?
My name is Donald Brian Knowles. I'm married to Ashley Knowles. I have 3 beautiful children. We live up in Precinct 2. We have a little cattle ranch up off 213. I did 13 years in the United States Army as a paratrooper, 3 combat tours. Then I got out of the Army I served under Chief Banks with the Round Rock Police Department for about 11 years as a K-9 officer. And then I had moved to Burnet County and decided this is where I wanted to police. I wanted to police in my own community, make it better. And I had the privilege of still serving under Sheriff Boyd. I'm currently a patrol sergeant, a hostage negotiator, a mental health deputy, and also part of the firearms cadre. My foundation is God, family, country, and the Constitution. I wholeheartedly believe in the Second Amendment and protecting the Second Amendment. And if on my level there was ways that I could change a lot of things, I would. I'm ready to start building partnerships with communities and local businesses, being visible out there in the community, letting them see me, letting them see my work, and then I would appreciate y'all's support. Thank you.
Mr. Adams, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Good evening, my fellow Republicans. A little about me. I've lived in the city of Burnet since 1983. I've owned and operated several businesses in Burnet since that time as well. I was elected to constable's office in 2013. Excuse me, my paper's out of order. So I have a Master Peace Officer's License, a Proficiency Certificate in Civil Process, and a Proficiency Certificate in Courtroom Security. I graduated from Bill Blackwood Law Enforcement Management Institute in Texas, Lehman, the Texas Constable Leadership College under the support of Criminal Justice Center at Sam Houston State University in Huntsville. I've been awarded the Constable of the Year twice, once in 2016 and once in 2019. I started my law enforcement under Sheriff Weldon Buck, which he sponsored me through the academy, and then on to Sheriff Pollock, and then I was a reserve sergeant with that agency at that time. I left there on to the county attorney's office under Robert Klager and Bob Byerly. I was contacted by the Burnet Police Department, Chief Bob Watson, and asked me if I was interested in starting a reserve program for the Burnet PD, in which we did, and then it went away. After 8 years, I decided I wanted to run for the constable's office, and I went to work for the first appointed deputy constable as a reserve for Mike Harnish in Precinct 1. After being elected, when the work started, having to arrange an office, documentation, and all the reporting to DPS, getting ORI numbers and certifications to the office under my name and bond. Now comes CJIS, the Crime Record Security for an audit. I had to put together a policy and procedure manual in like a week in case of a breach. Then comes Jim Clifton with TCOL. He was for an audit as well. The previous constable left office and took all the records, and that was a nightmare. Now on to the Office of Serving Papers, from citations to writs to executions and possessions, moving defendants out of their plaintiff's rentals, and I'm asked to do Attorney General papers, child support papers in the Precinct 2 from the civil deputy at Burnet Sheriff's Office. That includes receiving papers, serving, and then billing the AG's office. Now we are doing truancy, and that covers the entire BCISD, from Tao, and Llano County to Ocala, Briggs, and Bertram, including Burnet. I have a wealth of knowledge about civil, and I am still learning. When laws change every 2 years that go to legislative updates, then we have a 20-hour class taught Southwest Texas State University. Loyalty is the foundation of my office. I treat everyone with respect.
Thank you, Mr. Adams. Mr. Knowles, what are the duties of a Burnet County Constable?
Hold it up to my mouth, or don't? Oh, okay, I'm sorry. This is the first time I spoke on a microphone. So the duties would include serving the justice court, serving papers, writs, evictions, truancy court. There's a whole lot of civil process, but along with that also comes you're the chief law enforcement officer of that precinct, and there's a lot more responsibilities than just the court. One of the things I saw when I was out walking was being out there on specifically Hill Street and seeing the traffic out there during the day. And I currently work nights at the sheriff's office, so I don't see that traffic. And I myself was a little worried about walking on that street going door to door. And I know my wife would be terrified to have our 3 children out there playing. With that said, there's a lot more that can be done as a constable, not just civil paperwork. You're out there and you need to enforce the law, and you need to be visible, and you need to be in the communities protecting the community.
Mr. Adams, what are the duties of a Burnet County Constable?
Well, we're mandated by the Texas Constitution to serve papers in bailiff court. Then you're a Texas peace officer, so you're entitled to do anything any peace officer can do within the state. You can arrest people on warrants, you can write tickets, do stops, however you want to do them. But as the constable in Precinct 2, sometimes you have more time going to Llano serving truancy papers than you do get to work elsewhere. So then you have writs of executions, and then you have to kick people out of their house, and that sometimes takes as many as 2 days. Just depends on how much is in the house and how much you have to get a hold of. So our job is not to actually move the stuff out of a house, it's to actually oversee and arrest anybody that interferes. So the last one I did, the house was full of stuff that people just walked off and left it. So, I mean, working traffic's fun, but you don't always have time.
Thank you, Mr. Adams. Mr. Adams, why do you want to serve as constable?
I like serving my constituents in my county. My office is primarily in Precinct 2, but we can work the entire county. So I like serving my constituents and the people of Burnet County. With that, I'm going to stop. So.
Thank you, Mr. Adams. Mr. Knowles, why do you want to serve as
Did I get that,
constable?
Tom? So I would love to serve the community as constable in Precinct 2 for numerous reasons. One, I believe we need a visible constable that's out there for the people, by the people, and working with the people. Not just the community, but also local businesses. I've done an accolade of things in in my law enforcement career, and this is an endeavor that I want to take on. And while it's a very new one, everything that I've ever done in life was new. When I joined the Army, I was never a paratrooper. I became a paratrooper. When I became hired on Round Rock Police Department, I was never a police officer. Became a police officer, and I excelled. And one thing that I live by is enough is not enough, and sometimes we need more. And sure, traffic is not going to be your only duty as a constable, but you can be visible, and you can let people know that you're out and about so that they might slow down. They might stop at those stop signs. They may not break into those houses.
Thank you, Mr. Knowles. Mr. Knowles, how long have you been in law enforcement, and what experience do you have?
So I've been in law enforcement right around 11 years. I started with the Round Rock Police Department. They put me through the academy in 2013. I graduated, became a regular patrol officer. About 2 years into my career, I became K-9, and I was K-9 for about 6 years, where not only did I have a area of responsibility, but I also ran drug interdiction on the Highway 35. I have a Master Peace Officer license. I'm currently a patrol sergeant with the Burnet County Sheriff's Office, hostage negotiations, firearms cadre, where I participate in a lot of training, specifically the Red Dot training for new deputies coming on. And I'm also a mental health deputy and would also help support that with the Burnet County Sheriff's Office drive for mental health crisis in this community.
Thank you, Mr. Knowles. Mr. Adams, how long have you been in law enforcement, and what experience do you have?
Just a little over 27 years. I started, like I said, with Weldon Buck as the county sheriff here several years ago. as I was owning a business at that time, I was doing it as a reserve at no cost to the county. I would work a lot of nights, as I do now. Most people don't see me during the day because you can't find anybody to serve a paper to in the middle of the day. Most people have a job. So you have to work at night and you have to do a lot of that. So with that being said, the other thing is I've worked for the sheriff's office, I've worked for the county attorney's office, and I've worked for the Burnet Police Department. Now I'm working as a constable, and I've been there going on 12 years. With that, I'll yield my time.
Thank you, Mr. Adams. Mr. Adams, what will you do to make Precinct 2 Constable's office run more efficiently?
At this time, I think it runs as efficient as it can. We receipt all of our papers in when we can do it, and we serve our papers when we can find the people to serve. I went as far as Hutto yesterday to serve a paper yesterday evening. So it doesn't, we as constables have jurisdiction in adjoining counties and contiguous counties. So we can serve papers in another county that as long as it touches ours. So I do that a lot. And I yield my time. So.
Thank you, Mr. Adams. And Mr. Knowles, what will you do to make Precinct 2 Constable's office run more efficiently?
So one, I will never quit learning. One thing that I've never done, even starting from my military career, is stop my learning and stop my knowledge. One, I would also seek those that have the knowledge so that I could better myself. I've never stopped learning about how to be a leader, even though I've been a leader for about 12 years now with the U.S. Army. I was a sergeant for about 10 years, got promoted all the way up to staff sergeant, and then got promoted here at Burnet County Sheriff's Office. Along with that, I never stopped learning. I put myself and paid my own tuition to go through the FBI leadership course so that I could be the best that I could for my deputies and also for Sheriff Boyd so that he knows that there's good leadership under his command.
Thank you, Mr. Knowles. This is your final question, Mr. Knowles. What management experience do you have?
So I would say I have almost zero management experience. What I have is leadership experience, and there's a drastic difference. Leadership is all about training, mentoring, leading, and managing is just about being able to put in time clock, watch videos, give people days off, track calendars and stuff like that. But I also have to manage everything for all my deputies that are under me on my shift, whether it's vacation days, their training hours, what training they need to attend, ensuring that they're up to date with TCOL standards. At least 13 years. And in the Army, you had to track numerous items. So I have plenty of management experience, probably about 14 years.
Thank you, Mr. Knowles. And Mr. Adams, what management experience do you have?
I started my own business in 1983 from the ground up. Borrowed the money to start it. And as far as I know, it's still running today, although I don't have anything to do with it. So with that being said, starting in 83, I ran a business, paid bills, ran employees, were able to give tasks out that needed to be done, taking care of all the people that came into that business. And then we started another business, and then we took care of that mostly. And people today still ask me if I'm still in that business, although I'm not. So I don't know that I don't have the experience to do that, but although I am the constable now, and when we have a budget we have to work with, and you got so much money you can spend, and you don't have a lot. So with that being said, you have to work within your budget. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Adams. Gentlemen, you have 1 minute to wrap it up. Mr. Knowles, you can go first, and then Mr. Adams will follow.
So once again, I'm going to reiterate, I'm not a politician, even though I have to be elected for this position. I vow to work hard with the community, the businesses, the local law enforcement agencies, all in the county and even outside of the county. I vow to uphold and protect the Constitution and keep my work ethic that I've always had. Like I said at the very beginning of this, enough is enough, or enough is never enough for me. I always have to do more. And if you ever have any questions, you can go ask anybody that I work for or that works under me, and they'll let you know. My name's Donald Brian Knowles. I'd really appreciate your support in the primary. I vow and I promise to work hard and learn as much as I can and do as much as I can as the Constable of Precinct 2.
Mr. Adams,
Could you repeat the question, please?
you have 1 minute to just wrap it up.
Well, I'm a professional with a positive attitude, knowledgeable, helpful, with integrity. With pride, I've dedicated myself to the community and am compassionate for Burnet and Burnet County. Would be honored for the opportunity to continue my service as your Precinct 2 Constable. I am Gary Adams. Please vote for the 2-ard Gary on the ballot. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Okay, our next candidates are County Commissioner Precinct 3, Chad Collier, Joe Rosser, Homer D. Will, Cord Werner, and Caleb Carrasco. Gentlemen, please come up. You can come up on the stage. And you'll be seated in the order that you were called. Okay, so that was Chad Collier, Joe Rosser, Homer Will, Cord Werner, and Caleb Carrasco. Okay, gentlemen, and the rules are the same. You each have 2 minutes to introduce yourselves, and then we will go ahead and proceed with questions. And you'll start in the order that you're on the ballot. So, Mr. Collier, you will start.
Hello, everyone. It's on. Hello, everyone. I'm Chad Collier, running for Commissioner Precinct 3. First off, I'd like to thank Kara Chastain and the Republican Party for organizing this, as well as the Burnet and Bertram Chamber of Commerce's. Also, I'd like to thank all of y'all for coming out, support us, and get as much information as you can to make an informed decision in this primary election. A little about me. I've lived in Burnet County, specifically Precinct 3 for 30 years, over 30 years. I attended Bertram Elementary. I graduated from Burnet High. And I'm a father of 3 with the love of my life, Lindy, and my biggest supporter. During those high school years, I worked for most of the ranchers in this county, building fences, working cows, hauling hay, and learned the value and the ethics of that hard work and the principles from those past generations. I've been a business owner for 24 years in the construction, underground telecom business, and have gained a lot of experience and expertise and knowledge in managing people in all capacities that go along with it. The product of being in business for yourself is putting plans in place and following those and knowing the plan, putting those actions to use to benefit the company. And that's about it. Thanks.
Good evening. My name is Joe Rosser, and I'm here tonight to apply for a job. This is a job interview. After speaking to some of you, I think most of y'all agree that the problems in this county are our water issues, our road issues, infrastructure, growth, and taxes. What's going to separate the gentleman up here running for this position is the experience. I bring 30 years of public service at all levels of state, county, and municipal government. I've written policies, I've drafted budgets, I've hired people for positions in government. I'm a fiscal conservative, and I believe strongly in budgets and sticking to those budgets. I also believe in, looking for fraud, waste, and abuse, places where we can find money someplace else in the budget. I believe in sound policies and practices and hiring the right people for the job. But my biggest belief is in representative democracy. I believe that our elected officials should never, ever have a personal agenda, but should always consult with the taxpayers when they're making a decision. And that's the one thing I will promise. I will never make you a promise. You hear politicians making promises. We may have heard some tonight. I'll never make a promise to you, except for this one. I will represent you on the Commissioner's Court with open, honest, and ethical behavior. Okay, that's the commitment I make to you. On a personal note, I figure people want to know about, the personal issues. I brought some pictures of it. Y'all want to talk to me later about it, but, I've moved to Burnet County. I picked this county in 2017 to move to, my wife and I. I have 2 boys serving in the United States military and a daughter that goes to Bertram Elementary School. I like to fish and hunt like everybody else. I ride motorcycles. We have a little ranch with horses. I love this county. I want to serve on March 5th. I would appreciate your vote. Thank you.
Mr. Will?
My name's Homer Will, candidate for Burnet County Precinct 3 Commissioner. I am not a public speaker, so please bear with me on this. My current position is a foreman for Precinct 4. I've been there 14 years. Has well prepared me to take Precinct 3 to its highest standard that the other 3 precincts operate. My experience and knowledge includes 30-plus years of an operation manager, road and bridge development, personnel management, director of water and sewer, heavy equipment trainer, and purchasing. I am a first responder. My goal has always been to improve any project I have been assigned on and under budget. I would like the opportunity to bring my skill and knowledge to Precinct 3 as your commissioner.
Mr. Werner?
My name's Cord Warner. I was born and raised here in Burnet County, actually right over here in Old Shepherd Memorial Hospital. My folks came here in 1960. I've seen a lot of growth, seen a lot of things. My wife here, Gaylynn, and I've got 3 wonderful children, 6 grandchildren, who I spend whatever free time I have with. My background is in education. I spent 33 years in education, 27 of those as an administrator, athletic director, emergency operations director. And basically, dealing with hiring and managing personnel, creating and managing policy. We built a lot of facilities. You have to maintain those facilities. The emergency operations is big, and in this world it's getting even bigger. And the other thing is we had very large budgets, and they were taxpayer-funded budgets. And it's a big honor, but it's also a big promise to the people to take care of them when you're dealing with taxpayer money. That's your money we're dealing with. My biggest thing, and we'll talk about roads and we'll talk about all these other water issues and things that we have, that they're there. I've been going to Commissioner's Court for over a year now, and I think I have a pretty good handle on the things that are affecting the county, but there's a lot of growth, and we've got a good thing here, and people know it, and they're coming here. And the growth is not going to stop, okay? So we've got to find a way to blend that with the history that we have here in Burnet County and keep that kind of small-town atmosphere blended with that. And that's really what my ultimate goal is. So I appreciate it, and thank you.
Roscoe?
Hey, thank you. Thank you for coming. Would anybody else like to come on stage? We got a a full list here, yeah. So my name's Caleb. My beautiful wife Sydney's back there in the back, and also my father came to watch this as well. I've got 23 years of experience in hospitality industry. I opened up a business in 2015 and brought it out here to Burnet. I have 5 beautiful kids. I know what you're thinking. How did you work for 23 years, and how do you have 5 kids? I know I don't look that age, but yeah. But what I want to do here with Precinct 3 is just continue that. I want to continue to serve. It's in my heart. And again, like Joe said, we're applying for a job here, and I'd be honored to earn your vote this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Carrasco. Okay, gentlemen, you each have 1 minute to answer these questions, okay? We're going to start with Mr. Collier, and then we're going to go down the line. First question, how will you work with county government and industry to ensure that industrial growth does not impact our natural resources or the quality of life for our citizens?
Can you repeat the first part of that, please?
Sure. It's a biggie. How will you work with county government and industry to ensure that industrial growth does not impact our natural resources or the quality of life for our citizens?
Well, we're going to have to, work with those developers and the people that want to come here. The growth is inevitable. It's coming. Now, our resources, water is going to be that issue. And we're going to have to do those hydraulic studies and work with the groundwater board to make sure everybody is abiding by the same rules and set some standards that we can all go by. And just basically work with the other commissioners, because it's going to hit all of us. And the sheriff's department, the ESDs, going to have to get with those. When they do come, we've got to have emergency services. I've been in contact with all those chiefs, and we've got a pretty good plan going forward. And it's basically going to be working with the landowners and the land developers, and making sure we're all on the same page. And that's what I've done before, is getting right-of-ways and talking to those people.
I think the first and foremost thing we need to do, that any developer that wishes to come to Burnet County have a comprehensive plan. That plan should include water, first and foremost. I think the second thing we do, if we encourage not so much heavy industry to come, but things like the technology industry, things that use less resources, those are the things that we can encourage to come to our county. We can do those through tax incentives if we wanted to. I think one of the gentlemen up here were talking about, growth is going to be inevitable here. It is inevitable. We can keep a cap on who we invite here as far as businesses and development goes. And again, I believe they need to come with a comprehensive plan of what they're going to do for the water issue, which is the chief complaint or chief issue we have here. But the industries that are using less resources, like the high-tech field, I would say encourage them to come.
Definitely, growth is our major problem we got in Burnet right now. We have to come up with game plans to try to organize better roads to get people in and out in a safe manner. Water issue, I'm the director of the Groundwater District for Precinct 3. I have been fighting these issues for hours and hours to try to control. The Texas Groundwater District is the strongest district that we got with restrictions. Thank you.
Mr. Warner?
And I believe part of your question, the original part, was about working with others and trying to get that done, correct, ma'am?
Correct.
Okay. So realistically, what I foresee is being out and visiting not only with the folks that are doing that and coming in, but there are some things that the commissioners are able to do, and there are some things that they're not able to do. One of the things that is on my mind is I think House Bill 3697 really hamstrung a little bit on the way when people were getting plats and platting these new subdivisions, as far as what things that we could, or the commissioners could let them do and not let them do legally. So I think visiting with some of our representatives that are going to be down in Austin to try to get some of that corrected would be a big issue. Speaking with our cities,
Thank you, Mr. Werner. Mr. Carrasco? I can. How will you work with county government and industry to ensure that industrial growth does not impact our natural resources or the quality of life for our citizens?
Right, so the biggest part of being a commissioner is, we're the first person that the constituents should be able to go to for improvement of their quality of life. So that's number one. But, this is for me, this is something that I think there's a lot of people in this room that have a lot of experience in this. And so what I would do myself is learn, get at the table and learn from the people that are dealing with these issues already and be able to use their knowledge and wisdom and be able to bring my outside of the thinking to the table and like I said, just keep learning. There's going to be a lot of studies on this. So yes, that's what I would do.
Thank you, Mr. Carrasco. For our second question, we're going to start with Mr. Rosser and then work our way down the table and come back to Mr. Collier. For your second question, gentlemen, how will you work with county government and law enforcement to ensure that our citizens are protected from crime and overreach from the federal government?
Well, that's an interesting question. I would defer most of that to the sheriff because, he's the chief law enforcement officer in this county. I think our job would be to give him the resources he needs, the equipment he needs to not only, keep Burnet a safe, crime-free place to live. Not crime-free, but it's a safe place to live and raise a family. As far as the overreach of the federal government, I don't know that we've had an issue with that here in Burnet County. You hear about that issues down the border, and the state's having issues with that. Again, I would defer a lot of that to the sheriff. All we can do in the commissioner's court is grant him the resources that he would need, obviously through the proper channels, but to make sure that he has everything he needs in order to do the job effectively. I understand. I've met Sheriff Boyd a couple times. Everything I hear about him, he's a great sheriff of this county. I feel safe here when I go out. My job would give him, again, grant the resources he needs to do his job and continue to do his job well.
Thank you, Mr. Rosser. Mr. Will?
Working with Precinct 4, we work very close with the Sheriff Department. If there's anything on a wreck issue, the Sheriff Department will call. We will bring cones, bring additional personnel to help these guys. I do believe in the Sheriff Department, and we need to keep it safe. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Will. Mr. Warner?
You're good. Basically, very obviously, like Mr. Rosser said, the support of the sheriff's office is primary to that. However, I also have to mention, we have other police departments in our precinct, with Bertram PD and Morrow Falls PD and a lot of folks like that. So being involved with those guys as well as the sheriff's office and making sure that they have what they need, as well as one of the things that I think is important is being involved with the schools, be it Bertram Elementary or Marble Falls or whatever it is, involved in their emergency management process and things like that. That's where people start understanding what other ones do, and that's when things start working a lot better together with law enforcement, has been my experience.
And Mr. Carrasco?
So, safety is the biggest thing on our agenda. I've read extensively the Sheriff's Department's bios and Mr. Trevino's bio. I feel very comfortable being a citizen and living with those two leading the way with safety in their hands. And like Mr. Rosser said, our job is to give them the tools that they need to continue that. And I would sit here and say that I would sit at the table and be quiet and just listen to what they have to say about that very, very topic and learn.
Thank you, Mr. Carrasco. And Mr. Collier.
I guess I'll just reiterate pretty much what they said, but you know, Sheriff Boyd has done a fantastic job. This is probably one of the safest counties that we have. You can go out anytime, day or night, very little trouble. Just letting him get the resources and giving him the resources and letting him tell you, along with the Bertram PDs and the Marble Falls PDs, Burnet PDs, and even the constable's offices. You know, let them tell us and listen and say, I need this, and let's try to get the resources for them. So they can do a better job and keep Burnet County in general, all of us, safe.
Thank you, Mr. Collier. Question number 3, Mr. Will. What will you do to ensure that citizens residing in your area have adequate emergency services, including fire and medical?
As a first responder, I do believe that we need our fire department, medical deal. I've been out on scenes where 10, 15 minutes is a long time to get EMS out there. I would definitely work towards helping EMS, emergency management, to do whatever it takes to get the proper facilities set up in a rural area.
Thank you, Mr. Will. Mr. Werner.
Yes, ma'am. Well, I guess I think there's 9 ESDs in the county right now, spread out over the areas. I know and I'm sure that there are probably some areas that may not be covered as well as they need to. I really think the citizens of those areas probably know that better than we do. Visited with them and finding that out, because basically they would be the ones who would be bringing that to an election to be voted on, so we'd be able to know what they needed. In various places that's already been looked at, but you have some that are fire only, you have some that are fire and EMS and so forth. But that would have to come from a particular area, and when they raise that concern, we would research that and help them bring that election on and guide them in the process.
Mr. Carrasco.
Yeah, so I'd have to piggyback off of this. I think you're making some great points. You know, this is something that we'd have to look at, you know, and get with the existing service providers, right? Chief Ingram is doing a great job, and this is something that we would have to look at and look at the future growth of development and see, you know, what areas in particular are going to need another fire EMS. And again, this is all, you know, comes back to the citizens being able to express that concern and be able to vote on that. So if the citizens want something closer to them, absolutely, it needs to come from them, and they can vote on that.
Mr. Collier.
After having several discussions and meetings with the fire chief, namely Chief Hufstadler out of Bertram, and an assistant captain over at Marble Falls, and with several volunteers and even a couple of directors with ESD, we all kind of came to the same conclusion. There's basically 3 things we need, or that they're going to need to help them. One of them is we've got to have safer roads. We've got to get them where they're drivable. Those guys, when they're going to a emergency, they're going to go over speed. We got to have safer roads. Got to improve visibility on those roads. Got to have signage on those roads for the crews that are coming in from outside of our precinct, so they know where the turns are, where they're going, bridges, so forth. Also, with these land developers that are coming in, we need to make sure that they have water available to some of the outsourced ones. Water tanks. If possible, get them to install fire hydrants there. If nothing else, at least have a storage tank with plenty of capacity to fight the emergencies. Thank you.
So I believe there are certain sacrifices you make when you live in a rural area like we do. I can't get pizza delivered out where I am, and sometimes I have to wait on an ambulance. We are currently served by the Burnet Fire Department, EMS, and response times are a little longer. We have a hell of a fire department in Bertram. I also know Bobby over there. I think the first and foremost thing we do is send these guys to training, let them get their EMT certifications, their paramedic certifications. We can do that as their first responder. Those guys will be the first ones on the scene anyway. We've already put the ambulance issue before the voter, I think twice in this county, and it was rejected by the voters. Again, I'm willing to listen. If I was elected to this office, listen to you guys and put it for a vote and kind of find a way to pay for it. It would probably involve a bond election, which means we're going to pay more in taxes, but I'm always willing to listen to that. But again, you live in a rural area and there's certain sacrifices we have to make. And that's sometimes an ambulance that's not within 2 or 3 minutes of us.
Thank you, Mr. Rosser. For our fourth question, Mr. Warner, what will you do to reduce the amount of current debt of Burnet County government and bring fiscal responsibility to Burnet County?
So as far as that goes, I mean, I can't sit here and tell you what specific things would need to be cut or wouldn't need to be cut. I've looked at this budget several times. It's like a Rubik's Cube. It's something that needs to be examined. It needs to be pulled apart and looked at. I know these guys that have been doing that, they do a good job with that. But every single time one comes around, there's things that need to be looked at and double checked and see if they're still relevant. I know that, you know, with the appraisal shooting up the way they are, the taxes have gone down, but people are still paying more taxes. So you still have to look at a way to cut out the fat, but there are certain things like law enforcement and so forth that we have to have. I would just have to examine that line by line to be able to tell you what we would need to do with that, ma'am.
Mr. Carrasco?
Yes. Yeah, so on those same lines, right? I mean, there's always frivolous spending. You know, I've looked at the debt, or looked at the budget. You know, again, this is the taxpayers' money, right? They should have the right to be able to sit and say what they want to spend it on. I would just be the conduit in which they can speak. So, like I said, I would want a citizen input to know what they want. Right, but when I do look at the budget, I can look at some things and sit and say, why are we spending X amount on that? You know, but if the citizens ultimately want that, that's their money. You know, and they have a right to spend it on what they want to.
Mr. Collier?
Well, what I will do is we'll look at the budget, see what's in there, and you know, I don't have any plans to cut anything. Let's go, let's look, let's try to find the money. Let's look at every avenue to find the money. And as far as the debt, you know, that's part of running a business, is you get so much money coming in, you got so much going out. You know, let's make it even out. And without cutting any of the programs, and look for other avenues to get the money for them, so we don't have to cut any. Thanks.
Mr. Rosser?
So currently, if what I read is correct, we're about $30.7 million is our outstanding debt, is what we have in this county. When you talk about you can't cut things, yeah, there are things you can look at. The first and foremost thing you do is stick to your budget. Okay, line items come up, people want more things, you stick to your budget. That means sometimes people won't get raises in the county. That's not, I've worked for government for 30 years in some form or fashion, went years without raises because there simply wasn't enough money in the budget. Second issue we look at, fraud, waste, and abuse. In part of my career, I was a fraud investigator for the state of Texas. You look at budgets, you look at the things that are doing. I can guarantee I can look at the budget and look at these departments and conduct audits on county divisions, and we would find extra money somewhere. We'd find extra resources somewhere. It just happens. It's a natural course. So those are the two things we need to do. And then we have a moratorium on not issuing any bonds, because again, bonds is more debt. That's tax debt. We talked about an ambulance a while ago. We put that before the people. But those are the three things I would do to make sure we are fiscally sound.
Mr. Will?
In my past background as an operation manager, I definitely know how to work a budget. I think as a county with all the departments that I work with has done a very good job managing the budget. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Will. For our final question, Mr. Carrasco, what is your opinion of the current state of Burnet County government?
The end. No, I'm kidding. Look, you know, there's some great people in this room, right? I'm looking at some right now. I can go through, I can see Judge Whitehead, I see V, I see Casey, I see Jim Luther. I mean, there's so many great people in here. What I want to do is learn from these people. Judge Henson is learn. You know, again, these people selected these people for a reason. I'm standing up here, I'm up here because I'm excited, because I think that Burnet has a great opportunity. You know, I have, like I said, I have 5 kids and my business is here. I'm putting everything in here. I'm going all in. And so I feel very confident in the future of Burnet. I feel better with me involved in Precinct 3. So remember that. But no, thank you.
Mr. Collier,
Can you repeat the question, please?
what is your opinion of the current state of Burnet County government?
Kind of to reiterate, it's good. I mean, there is definitely some changes we can make. There's great people work here. That's the reason everybody wants to come here. That's why we've got the growth. Now, is there some changes we can make? Yes. But within saying that, we're going to have to, you know, as a commissioner's court, go in and fight for those changes and fight for what's best for me personally, Precinct 3. I've got to look out for Precinct 3. That's the main part that I'm after. You know, that's my position. That's what they're going to elect me for. That's who I'm looking out for. In the other way, but I've got to look after the whole county too. So I'm going to go and try and do my best to do what's right for all the citizens of Burnet County in general. And no matter what that takes, no matter what feathers those ruffle, then that's what it's going to do. Thanks.
Mr. Rosser?
Well, I'm not here to butter anybody's biscuit, so here's what I'm going to say. There is no secret in the last few years, Burnet County has had some legal and ethical issues going on. That's not a secret. And again, we're not going to ever point fingers at anybody. I said in my opening speech, I'm here, I spent 30 years of my life in public service, okay? The promise I made to you guys that I will serve ethically, openly, and honestly, and I'll always deal with my fair dealings. I think that's kind of what we need on the Commissioner's Court at this time. I may not have all the answers, and I've proven that tonight. I don't have all the answers. I don't think any of us have all the answers. I think what separates some of us is how we're going to do our business. My commitment is to you again, be open, honest, and ethical with you, and try not to ever bring discredit and serve honorably in the position.
Mr. Will?
I think the county is moving forward and has done an excellent job with different areas to keep it going forward. Thank you.
Mr. Werner?
You know, I'll be honest, when I started looking at doing this a couple, 3 years ago, and I've been going to the Commissioner Court meetings for a little over a year now, and yeah, there's been some bumps in the road. There's a lot of things that get thrown out there. There's a lot of things that get thrown at them. There's a lot of things that have to be evaluated. There's a lot of things that they're locked into that maybe people don't know they're locked into. And there are some things that can be done different. Bottom line is I'm going to go in and look at that. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be smart enough to keep my mouth shut all the time. I will ask some questions because not only am I trying to learn, but I'd like to help solve some of those issues if I'm able to do that. So I've got no issues with the way the government's going right now, the county government, but there's always things that you can look at and improve.
Thank you, Mr. Werner. Gentlemen, you each have 1 minute to wrap it up. We'll start with Mr. Collier, and you'll just go down the line.
All right. I would like for you to take a second and think about who you want to be your next Commissioner of Precinct 3. And with that, I'd like to reiterate, I was a business owner, still am, as of now, for 24 years. I've ran men in multiple capacities. We work for TxDOT, where you're project planning out 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 years for a project. So I'm constantly having to look forward into the future with the planning, multiple years down the road. We've all seen the growth the last several years. It's only going to get worse or better, depending on how you look at it. People are moving in. We can't stop that. You know, there's going to be businesses come in. We're going to need them. The taxes are going to go up, which are the revenue from taxes are going to go up, which is going to help us all. And as you're
30 years of public service. I've drafted budgets, I've drafted policies and procedures, I've hired people. I'm running for better roads, protect our water systems, and make a better way of, protect our way of life. I think all the gentlemen up there mentioned it's a great place to live. I agree, it's a great place to live. I picked Burnet County to move to in 2017. I'm running to preserve that way of life. Again, the only promise I made to you, I will do that with openness, honesty, and integrity. And on March 5th, I hope to have your vote. Thank you.
Ask that question one time again, please.
You just wrap it up.
Okay. If I have the opportunity to be your commissioner, I will do the best I possibly can. I do know road work. I do know safety of our roads. And I'm asking you for your opportunity to let me have a chance to be your commissioner. Thank you.
Mr. Collier. I'm sorry, Warner.
Thank you. I already told you a little bit about my background. Bottom line is I've got some brochures over there I'd love for you to take if you hadn't already made up your mind. The reality is the more and more I'm seeing over the last several months, we're getting more community input, we're getting more people input. Basically, we're here for you guys, and we want to listen to you, and I think that's growing. If you need to know more about me, I'd be happy to talk your ear off, but I think I'm as qualified as anybody is. I feel like it's time for me to use some of the skills I've learned over the last 30 years, and I think it fits this role just right, actually.
Thank you, Mr. Warner. Mr. Carrasco.
Yes, ma'am. Ms. Chastain, thank you for inviting us out this evening. Thank you all for coming out and listening to us. I don't think any of us like public speaking. We all mutually agreed on that earlier. But thank you all for coming out. I will say this, I'm somebody that's always going to ask questions. I think everybody in this room, when they see me coming, when the ones that do know me, I pick their brain and I ask questions. And I'll leave you with this. If we ever get into a situation with the county where we don't know what to do, I would say, like the prayer or when we started, let's look at what Scripture says, and I almost guarantee you the problem is already solved for us if we go with that mindset. And so I'm always going to use that as my guiding way to direct this county.
Thank you, gentlemen. Okay, for our next candidates, our county tax assessor collector. Ladies, please head your way up front. Deanne Fisher, Susan Allen, and Adrian Field.
One announcement I would like to make is that the Bertram Chamber of Commerce is having their annual meeting, or their monthly meeting, on Monday, February 26th. We are inviting all the candidates to come and each give a 3-minute intro for themselves, and then we have lunch. It's there in Bertram. Please find us on Facebook to get more details, and please RSVP if you're coming. We do have lunch for a small fee, and the candidates will be there for the intro, and then following there'll be mix and mingle Q&A after that. That's the Bertram Chamber of Commerce monthly meeting. Thank you.
Okay, ladies, are you ready? Okay, you each have 2 minutes to introduce yourselves, and then we'll proceed with the questions, and then you'll have a 1-minute wrap after we finish. So we're going to start with Deanne Fisher first.
Okay, sit on. Good evening. Thank you for allowing us to speak to you tonight. My name is Deanne Fisher, and I'm running for Burnet County Tax Assessor Collector, and I'm seeking to be your Republican nominee. Before I tell you a little bit about myself, I want to tell you about this position. The Tax Assessor Collector does not assess the property value, does not assess the value on your property, rather, or set the tax rate. The tax assessor receives all property taxes collected by Burnet Central Appraisal District. The tax assessor collects state and county fees for the DMV and TABC. In some counties, the tax assessor registers and titles boats for Texas Parks and Wildlife. At this time, Burnet County does not this is not a service that's offered. As your tax assessor collector, I will facilitate boat registrations in order to serve the boaters in and around the Highland Lakes community. In 2023, the Tax Assessor Collector's Office received and dispersed approximately $50,450,000 between county and state. Now about myself. I possess 30 years of experience in finance, lending, and title services, 12 of which I have served as your Chief Deputy Treasurer. This position has given me extensive experience in handling county, state, and federal funds, as well as strict reporting statutes that ensure financial transparency. I've been blessed to call Burnet County my home. I've been here for over 43 years. This is where I grew up. This is where I went to school. I met my husband at Burnet High School, and we just celebrated our 37th wedding anniversary. We have 3 adult sons.
Thank you, Ms. Fisher. Ms. Allen.
Good evening. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. My name is Susan Allen. I am running for the Burnet County Tax Assessor Collector position. My husband and I have been happily married for 42 years. Yes, to the same man. I have 3 adult grown children and 4 grandchildren that I love very much. I am the Chief Deputy Tax Assessor Collector for Mrs. Sherry Frazier. I've been doing that job since 2004, not as actually Chief Deputy. I started in 2004 as a regular deputy. I worked my way up very quickly to Assistant Chief Deputy, and after that I did become the Chief Deputy, and I've been doing that job for approximately 15 years for Sherry. I've been very blessed that Sherry allows me to run the Marble Falls Tax Office, really by myself pretty much, of course under her guise, but Sherry has never been a hovering manager or anything like that. I take my job very seriously. I love my job. I actually found, when you finally find something that you really love to do, I found mine in the tax office. I'm not just really good, but I'm really great at my job. I have a very good reputation with law enforcement, the fire department, the financial institutions, the schools, the dealerships. I am the go-to person for vehicle titles and registration. Yeah, I never will let you down. I never have, and I never will. And I appreciate you. Thank you very much.
Ms. Field.
Good evening. Thank you for having and letting us talk today. My name is Adrienne Field. I'm also running for Burnet County Tax Assessor Collector. I will just start off to say that I am extremely passionate to serve the community of Burnet, and that is why I'm here tonight. I want to continue serving. I graduated from Tarleton State University. That's where I met my husband. He is from Burnet, so we got back here as soon as we could. I didn't know what career I was going to do in the little small town of Burnet, so I decided to start in the county clerk's office as the assistant chief deputy. I quickly transferred over to the auditor's office, where I was the internal audit supervisor for 6 years. With that position, I got to touch each office of the county a little with doing internal auditing. At that point, I also got an opportunity to advance my career and go start with the city of Burnet as their senior accountant. I decided to jump out of the finance world a little bit and take on another role as airport manager and administrative services. That's a role I currently hold. I share all that with you to ensure you that I have the diverse skill set to be able to lead the office. I think what I most enjoy about government is serving the people. I enjoy problem solving. I enjoy having my diverse skill set, so I understand when the public comes into our office, how to help them, not just with our office, but in everything with the county. And I would appreciate your support. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Field. Okay, for our first question, we're going to start with Ms. Fisher. You already touched on this. Many citizens have asked why the Burnet Tax Office does not process boat titles and renewals. Do you know why the office does not currently process boat titles? And if elected, would you consider processing boat titles and renewals for boats?
So I have visited with Sherry Frazier about this, and it's up to the tax assessor collector to decide whether or not her office wants to take on that responsibility, because it is through Texas Parks and Wildlife rather than the state, DMV, and TABC. And anyways, I think Sherry just really, for whatever reason, I don't know, she just decided not to do that. However, I grew up at Lake Buchanan. I grew up boating on Lake Buchanan. It doesn't make sense to me that we would not offer this service to the citizens. You guys are the ones that fund our office, and we are here to serve you. So I personally have checked into it. It's a matter of just getting signed up, and we are definitely going to offer that when I'm elected as tax assessor collector.
Thank you, Ms. Fisher. Ms. Allen?
Being a conservative, one of the reasons why Sherry has never done Parks and Wildlife in the boating registration, and I'm not taking that off the table by any means. It's something, though, that has to be researched. The reason being is Texas Parks and Wildlife is a state office, and you're using county employees to do that job. Parks and Wildlife is only going to pay you a commission per registration. They don't pay your employees. They don't pay for the resources. They're going to bring in their own equipment. That's great. But a lot of times, their backup support, if it's anything like the TXDMV, it is not that great. So it would have to be looked into if it would be fiscally, if it would put a fiscal burden on the taxpayers first. I'm not saying that it would, or it wouldn't be worth it, but when you register your vehicle, the county only gets $1.90 per transaction.
Ms. Field?
Can you repeat the question, please?
Many citizens have asked why the Burnet Tax Office does not process boat titles and renewals. Do you know why the office does not currently process boat titles? And if elected, would you consider processing boat titles and renewals for boats?
Thank you. So I also talked with Sherry. I did see this come up, and it has definitely been a topic that's in the public right now. When talking with her, I know, as Susan just said, that the fiscal part of this is a piece that needs to be investigated and researched more. We always, as elected officials, want to give the most service to our constituents as possible, but we can't just make that decision just on a whim. There's so much that comes with that. We would need to see the staffing. Do you need another staff member? Do you need another computer? The program, is that going to cost? We also operate on a budget. I do not think it's something that I could say that we couldn't offer, but sitting here today and not having the complete knowledge on it, I think it would be irresponsible of me to say that we can and I will do it. But it's definitely something that we will look into, and always to understand the why. Why do we need to do that? And is there possibly...
Thank you, Ms. Field. Ms. Allen, what is your responsibility to the citizens of Burnet County as the tax assessor collector?
The responsibility is to register and title vehicles correctly, legally, and fairly to everybody. When someone comes into our office, a lot of times that's why I like to be friendly and approachable. People think that, number one, if they've done something wrong, we might arrest them. Number two, if they say too much, they're going to be charged too much money. That's why I always want to be friendly and approachable, get the whole story. That way we can help this person with their title work or the problem that they have with their vehicles. It's not cheap to transfer a title, as everybody probably knows, but I think it's very important that you should be approachable and listen to people, and that's the one key, and educate them, let them know what they could do, not to circumvent the law or to cheat, but within a legal means, what you could do.
Ms. Field?
Can you repeat the question, please?
What is your responsibility to the citizens of Burnet County as the tax assessor collector?
So the Burnet County Tax Assessor Collector, we're the agent of the Texas Motor Vehicle. We are where you come to get your vehicle registered. Our job is to provide the customer service, the tool set you need, the education on how to do that. Through those means, that might be updating the website, having more, just providing the customer service, ensuring that the staff has the tool set, the knowledge, and the experience so they feel confident responding to the customer's needs.
And Ms. Fisher.
So I'm going to reiterate what they said. The role of the tax assessor collector is to collect the property taxes from Burnet Central Appraisal District. I know that nobody really wants to talk about that. But last year, the taxes alone were $34,233,462. So we need to be sure to account properly when that money comes in and turn it over to the state and the county. As far as the motor vehicles, yes, by statute, we are the agent for the DMV, and we are here to provide a service to help you any way we can. I think that we should take a look at the growth in our county, consider offering extended hours, maybe one day a week, just till 6 o'clock so people can get their tags. But overall, our purpose is to serve you, the taxpayers in our community.
Thank you, Ms. Fisher. Ms. Field, what is your budgeting experience and what is the largest budget you have handled?
Budgeting experience. So I am currently the airport manager for the city of Burnet. Not just with that budget, but with all the budgets. I think you have to have knowledge on what you're doing. You can't make a decision without looking at the budget. As far as the greatest budget that I've ever had, I don't know that. I don't know how I have that number off the top of my head. I can tell you that I'm always fiscal responsible. And yeah, thank you.
Ms. Fisher?
So in my current position, I have not been involved in the budget process. I have observed closely from just being in the office that I'm in, which is next door to the auditor's office. So there's a process that goes into county budgeting. It involves your county auditor, your county judge, as well as your department head. As far as the amount you're allotted, it's based on your staff, it's based on the supplies you need, equipment, It's something that I would be able to manage. Unfortunately, I've just never been in that position.
And Ms. Allen.
I have a background in retail and store management, so I have had experience with budgets. As far as how much, I honestly couldn't tell you, but I know you have to stay within a certain percentage in order to make a profit. Not that the county would make a profit, but you don't want to overspend either, especially on unnecessary things, and I firmly believe in that. We do not disperse money into budgets or anything like that, the tax office. What we do is we're a filter basically for property taxes. So the budget would be strictly for the office, how much the office is going to spend on office supplies, staffing, etc. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Allen. Ms. Fisher, what is your experience in managing people, including the number of people you have supervised?
So my experience in managing people, it's been years since I've really had to manage anyone. There's 3 people in the treasurer's office. When I was younger, I managed a front desk for a hotel. If you didn't think that was a challenge, yes it was. I am a working mother. I have 3 sons. They're all 5 years apart. So my management skills is having a child at 3 different schools, working full-time. They participated in extracurricular activities. So I would like to tell you, if you can manage that, you are a manager. I have leadership skills. I believe that it's something you're born into. I have the ability to work with others, get along with others, and most of all, to lead others. Thank you.
Ellen.
Okay. Yes, I do have manager skills. I used to be an assistant service manager for the HEB. What that is the front end. That is the checkers and the baggers. And at any time, you could have 5 to 30, and you have to know what they're doing at all times. Right now, I've managed the Marble Falls office for many, many years. There used to only be 3 of us. Now there's 4 of us. You have to make sure everyone is doing their job. You have to make sure everyone knows what they're doing. You have to, that's the big thing, educating your staff, because there is a lot of work and there is a lot of knowledge that you need to know. But yes, I have managed and I can continue, and I am a very good leader. I'm a proven, experienced leader. Thank you.
And Ms. Field.
Thank you. So I have been blessed to have a lot of good mentors in my career. I would say that I have managed with projects. I have not managed staff per se, but I have been involved in projects where I managed the project. I have been through leadership training, a year-long course, and have got to see kind of from the outside of the globe management, and I feel like I've learned my skill set on what needs to be done as a manager. I believe that ensuring your staff is comfortable is a good is a must. I believe that good communication within the office, that's to the public and within yourself and other offices. So I believe I have a diverse skill set that will allow me to adapt to any challenge that comes through the office and manage that challenge.
Thank you. For your last question, we'll start with Ms. Allen. What is your leadership style and how do you deal with conflict?
Well, my leadership style, I don't like to, here's my thing. I'll be sitting there waiting on a customer and I'll hear one of the other girls and I'll hear them talking to their customer, and I don't know why, but I have this innate ability to hear what's happening over there too. When I find that I hear something that is incorrect, I have to stop and I have to correct them And the reason being is you don't want to see people keep coming back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And sometimes it makes them crazy, but most of the time, it's a learning experience for them, and they're like, oh, I did not know that, or oh, because there is a great deal of information. Anybody that's worked with vehicle titles and registration knows it is an incredible amount to know, and not everything happens every single time. You get something that happens, you know, off the beaten path every once in a while.
Ms. Field?
Oh, can you repeat the question, please?
What is your leadership style, and how do you deal with conflict?
Yes, so my leadership style, I think I like to lead, I would say lead from behind. I want, I like to see the staff, I like to see your constituents, your peers be successful. I want to give them the tool set, and then I want to watch them succeed, whether that be in customer service, learning a lot within the office so that they feel confident. Maybe the office is just a stepping stone for them. I love growing leaders and letting people feel super confident in what they do. The other part, sorry, what was the, I know I'm running all the time.
How do you deal with conflict?
Oh, dealing with conflict. Conflict is something that I wouldn't say I like conflict, but I like working through conflict. I like talking through things. I think it's important to have conflict sometimes so that everyone from the situation can learn. And so, yeah, that's how I handle conflict. Thank you.
And Ms. Fisher?
I would say my leadership style is lead by example. Be a team player. You know, you're only as strong as the team you surround yourself with. Teach your employees, help them learn. You know, the thing about county government is you are trained to do a specific position. So before you even hit the counter, you have gone through state training on the state website. You have an understanding. You should have key employees in place that can help assist if they have a question. But I would definitely lead by example. As far as conflict, I'm not going to tell you how old I am, but in my experience, 95% of the time, conflict comes from lack of communication. I believe you need to have an open door, be willing to just hear what your employee has to say. It won't always be easy if if their problem is not really valid, but 95% of the time, I think if you just talk it out, you generally don't have conflict.
Thank you, ladies. You have 1 minute to wrap it up. We'll start with Ms. Fisher and go down the line.
Okay, I'm gonna talk really fast this time. My commitment to you is that I will be a working tax assessor collector. I will be available Monday through Friday to assist you with your needs, and I welcome the opportunity to assist you. I've spent the last 30 years working to gain knowledge necessary to operate your tax office with accuracy and financial transparency. I also possess leadership skills which will enable me to operate a countywide office. I will strive daily to ensure you receive knowledgeable, efficient, friendly service, and that your expectations are not only met, but exceeded. Leading with experience and serving with integrity is not just a slogan to me, it's a promise. Please allow me to work hard for you by voting Deanne Fisher on March the 5th. I would be honored and humbled to have your vote. Thank you.
Wrapping it up, sorry. I'm a proven, experienced leader in the tax office. My staff and I, the three of us, we get along very well. I can't say that we haven't had our differences at times, but we've worked it out. We all gotten along very well. I get along extremely well with the community. I would like to bring that to the Burnet portion of the community. I'm really very, very well liked. I always like to talk to people. I like to hear what people know and say and their opinions. I'm open to anything. I'm not going to promise you anything about parks and wildlife and boating, but I'm sure I'm open to it. And I would love to be the next tax assessor collector. That's my next step, and I'm primed and ready. Thank you.
Thank you. So I have 12 years of experience, diverse experience in county government, county and city government. I just truly, genuinely want to continue to serve our community. I know I have the skill set because of my past experiences, and like I said, I genuinely want to continue to serve. I have been able to learn my different offices that I've been a part of. I always try to leave them better than how I started, with implementing new procedures, learning about the office, and growing it. And so I would just want to continue to, and I'm eager to learn and continue to serve. I'd appreciate your vote. Again, my name's Adrienne Field. Thank you.
Thank you, ladies. Our next candidates are running for District Attorney, 33rd Judicial District, Marie Prim and Perry Thomas. Ms. Prim and Mr. Thomas. You each have 2 minutes to introduce yourselves, and then we'll proceed to the questions.
When I was in elementary school, career days happened at my school, and the local district attorney came to talk to us. He was very passionate about being able to help people when bad things happen to them, and he always got to do the right thing, which was the best part of his job. That was my inspiration. That formed who I am today. I went home that day and I told my mom, I am going to be a district attorney. And I have done that with my career. My name is Marie Prim, and I want to serve this community as your next district attorney. I currently work at the Office of the Attorney General. I am on the capital murder team, which means that small jurisdictions around the state, when a capital murder happens, such as the murder of a police officer in the line of duty, they call because they need an experienced prosecutor, they need help, and I go. I go across this great state to help law enforcement in the investigation and prosecutors in prosecuting the heinous crimes. I am married to my husband, Steve. We've been married 23 years. He's a retired police officer. We have 2 adult children, and we live in Sunrise Beach in Llano County. This community, I think we've heard through many people, is experiencing a lot of growth. And with growth comes crime, unfortunately. There are drug crimes that are going on, and drugs also bring violent crime and property crimes. This community deserves an experienced prosecutor that has been proven. I have tried over 100 felony jury trials, and I've had great success. I'm a leader. I have led teams of 20 attorneys, investigators.
Mr. Thomas.
Thank you. Well, good evening. I'm Perry Thomas. I'm running for district attorney. I come to you with 34 years of criminal law experience. 29 years I spent as a prosecuting attorney, prosecuting felony criminal cases. The last 5 years I've been in the private practice of criminal law. During my 29 years of prosecution, I prosecuted death penalty cases, resulting in receiving the death penalty. Countless crimes committed against children, unfortunately. I was the lead prosecutor over a drug task force where I tried numerous drug cases, drug dealers and drug traffickers. I have a great deal of experience, a court chief where I supervised other attorneys, investigators, and court staff. 10 years ago, my wife and I moved to this district. And I went to work for the district attorney's office. I served as the first assistant district attorney. Served there for 4.5 years before I went into private practice. The 10 years that I've been in this district, I have been trying cases, serving in the courts that I hope to serve for you now. I have experience working in the courts of this district. I've worked with the judges. I've had the opportunity to work with most of the law enforcement agencies in this district, the court staff, other agencies and departments that touch upon the justice system in Burnet County. So I'm experienced not only in the courts, but experienced in this district. And I have a good working relationship with all the people involved in this district. And so it's my goal to work to keep violent crime under control and keep Burnet County a safe place to live.
Thank you, Mr. Thomas. We're going to start with questions. We're going to start with Mrs. Prim first, and then we'll alternate back and forth. You'll have 1 minute to answer each question, all right? Your first question, Ms. Prim. What is your experience in managing people, including the number of people you have supervised?
Twice, well, more than twice. One time in my career, I was in charge of managing all the new prosecutors that came to the Harris County District Attorney's Office. I managed 45 of the newest attorneys in the office. I dealt with mentoring and training them and teaching them how to be a prosecutor and what it meant to be a prosecutor. Later in my career, I served as the head of a division in Harris County, which supervised 5 district courts, and I supervised 20 attorneys. I oversaw what the decisions they were making and assisting them and helping them become better attorneys.
Mr. Thomas?
Well, I have supervised attorneys and investigators and paralegals in several different positions. The largest number at a time that I think I've supervised was when I was the first assistant here in Burnet County, working for Sonny McAfee. I believe there was probably 9 attorneys or so under my supervision, plus the support staff in the Llano office that I supervised. And so I have a lot of experience in supervising attorneys, mentoring them, working with them, and helping them, particularly younger attorneys and up-and-coming lawyers, supervise their work.
Thank you, Mr. Thomas. For your next question, Mr. Thomas, what is your leadership style and how do you deal with conflict?
Well, my leadership style is to lead by example, and I believe in a team approach within an office. Particularly when you're dealing with a group of lawyers, I think it's always best to have lawyers discuss matters and issues. And in any of your staff, I think it's always good to have good lines of communication open and lead by example. Show them what you want to do by doing it yourself, and then expect them to do the same. If there's conflict, I always like to visit with the people involved in the conflict, find out what the issue is, and let's talk it through. I think it is true that when you can talk an issue out and find out what the problem is, most of the time you can solve it in that matter.
And Ms. Prim?
I would say my leadership is leading by example. I think in leading groups of attorneys, investigators, and other support staff, you need to show them that you're not just telling them what to do, but that you can do it yourself and that you're willing to do it yourself. I always say there is no job too small for me to do. Nothing is beneath me. And I think that builds camaraderie and a good working team, because they're not afraid to come ask you a question because they know that you can accomplish the task. And communication is the key when it comes to conflict. There's always going to be conflict, especially with prosecutors. People's emotions sometimes get the best of them, and it's because they believe in a case. And I think that you have to take the time, take a deep breath, and listen to everybody involved to come up with the right resolution.
Thank you. Ms. Prim, what is your budgeting experience and what is the largest budget you have ever managed?
While I was in Harris County and division chief, the budgetary needs for my division, my 5 district courts, it came through me. The majority of that budget related to employees and salaries, and that's the majority of a district attorney's budget is salaries. I didn't have the final say-so in the budget because it was a very large office, but as far as projecting what needs for the division, what supplies were needed, what attorneys were needed, what investigators were needed, that came through me.
Thank you. And Mr. Thomas?
Having worked in this district and worked for the district attorney's office previously, I've had occasions to be part of the budget process for the district attorney's office. I know all the county judges in the 4-county district that I hope to be able to serve in and have a good relationship with all those individuals. And I know most of the commissioners' court of those counties. And so I've been through the budget process before with Burnet County. I have a good relationship with them, with the commissioners' courts, and I hope to be able to work again and use my relationship and my experience with them to set budgetary issues and goals for the district attorney's office.
Mr. Thomas, how many criminal cases have you prosecuted, and what is your conviction rate?
I can't tell you the numbers because it's probably, if I did a rough number, it probably handled, I've been in the business 34 years, prosecuting 29 years. I bet it's probably 10,000 or more cases, and that's probably underestimated the number of cases. The majority of cases, overwhelmingly, result in a conviction of some sort. Overwhelming numbers are, they're found guilty, they've pled guilty, have a very good success rate in trial. But on the other hand, I'm going to tell you, I'm not scared of trying a case that's a tough case to win. If I believe in a victim, I believe that a victim has suffered, even if it's not a slam dunk case, I'm still going to take a chance and fight for a victim of crime. I'm going to stand up for them, and I don't care if I win or lose, I'm going to stand up for a victim of crime.
And Ms. Prim?
I know I've tried over 100 felony jury trials as the lead attorney. I'm not going to say I won every case because I didn't, because sometimes you take a case knowing it's difficult, but knowing in your heart of hearts that it's the right thing to do. So I have lost some cases. I would say that my conviction rate when I go to trial is over 90%. As far as the number of cases that I've handled when I was prosecutor in Harris County, our dockets typically were 500 to 1,000 cases per court. I was a chief in a court for 7 years, so that's probably about 7,000 cases. And when I was coming up through the office, I can't tell you how many thousands of cases that I've had my finger on, either in helping officers in the investigation, writing warrants, and seeing that case through to a plea bargain or a trial. I can't possibly give an exact number of cases.
Thank you. And for your final question, Ms. Prim, what is the #1 problem facing the district, and how would you handle this problem?
I think a big issue for this community is the growth that we're seeing, and with the growth, unfortunately, comes crime. I believe that there is a drug problem in the area. There's a drug problem, and so it's not being helped by the open border. We're about 4 hours from the border, and it's coming directly in this area. I believe that all local law enforcement officers need to be able to communicate to each other so they can accurately show what's going on in each jurisdiction and able to handle that. I think that a drug task force is in line and necessary in this area to tackle that problem that is facing this county.
Mr. Thomas.
With growth does come additional crime, and I think we will see that. And I think we're seeing additional violent crimes, unfortunately. I think we need to be ready just to meet that head on at the district attorney's office. And no matter where I travel, though, in the district, I always hear the same thing, the drug problem, the drug problem. That's the great concern, and that leads to so many other crimes in our district. In my career, I have supervised and been the chief prosecutor of a drug task force. And I would like to use the duties, the powers of the district attorney's office to organize the law enforcement agencies in this district to put together another drug task force, because today's drug dealer in Burnet is tomorrow in Llano and somewhere else. And I would like to coordinate those efforts to go after the number one problem people have in this district, and that's the drug problem.
Ms. Prim, Mr. Thomas, you have 1 minute each to wrap it up.
I think Burnet County deserves a prosecutor that has been proven. Like I said, I have much trial experience. I am very good in a courtroom, and I am very good at working with law enforcement. I think that this county needs a leader to take over from Mr. McAfee and lead the county and lead the office. I have shown that I can lead groups of attorneys, I can mentor, and help them develop their skills as a prosecutor. I will tell you this, I tell every new prosecutor, what is needed in a prosecutor is heart and hard work. It takes up a lot of your heart when you come into contact with the victims, and you have to be willing to give it your all. And I will work hard. I promise you that no one will care more about these cases, and no one will work harder than I will.
To serve as your district attorney, my goal is to keep you safe, because we have a wonderful way of life here in Burnet County. It's a dream to live here. We're the envy, really, of the state of Texas. And it's that way in part because we're safe. And my goal will be, as district attorney, to work to keep you safe. I have the experience of having worked and practiced and tried cases and appeared before the judges in this district to serve as your district attorney from day one. I'm ready to go from the beginning. I've worked with the law enforcement agencies. I've worked at all the various departments, and so there will be no learning curve. I'm ready to go now. I want to work to keep this the great place it is to live, to keep us safe, and a great place to raise our children and our grandchildren.
Thank you both. Okay, we have 6 more candidates to hear from. These are going to be, first and foremost, members of the State Board of Education, District 10. I would like to invite Tom Maynard, D.C. Caldwell I, and Mary Bone to please come up to the stage. And these are the members for the State Board of Education, District 10. Okay, each candidate will have 3 minutes to speak. Okay. You're up first, Tom. So Tom Maynard is up first. Each candidate will have 3 minutes to speak.
Well, good evening. It's been, my name is Tom Maynard. I am a conservative Republican. It's been my honor to represent you on the State Board of Education. Many of you know my story and how I got to education and why it's so important to me. I grew up as a disadvantaged kid at a place called Cal Farley's Boys Ranch, worked my way through college, became an ag teacher and teacher of agriculture, had the opportunity to do that for 13 years, became the executive director of the state FFA. I had a chance to work with a young man from Burnet, Texas named Jason Edmondson. Y'all know Jason, when he was state FFA president, great kid. Had the opportunity to serve as a local school board trustee in Florence ISD, and was elected to the State Board of Education in 2012. And have had the opportunity to serve and lead on the board, currently the chairman of the Permanent School Fund and chairman of school finance. The Bible says that a tree is known by its fruit. I'm very proud of the work that we've done on the State Board of Education. We worked with the legislature to get House Bill 900 over the line to address the library books in your school libraries. We got that done. We got that over the finish line. We got the rule text done on that in December. I'm very proud of the work that we did, keeping radical ideology out of our TEKS, particularly in health, in science, in history, and in social studies. I'm very proud of the work that we're doing in terms of giving parents options through charter schools. Were you 30 seconds? Okay. We spent 3 years fighting the IRS. Can you imagine? To save our bond guarantee program. That saves taxpayers $300 to $400 million every year just in interest payments. We managed to win that battle just this last year. We worked with the legislature to transform the permanent school fund. That's a $54 billion investment fund that funds public education. And so we're very proud of the work that we're doing, and we want to go back and have more conservative victories on the State Board of Education. Governor Abbott has so far has only made one endorsement in the State Board of Education race in this primary season. And I'm very honored to have his endorsement. Governor Abbott wants me back. We've got work to do on the State Board of Education. I'm very honored to receive the endorsement this last week of former Governor Rick Perry. I've had the endorsement of Sid Miller, Wayne Christian, and Senator Flores. And I hope I've done enough to earn your vote and to continue the good work in Austin, Texas. Thank you.
Is there, DC Caldwell is not available?
I didn't see him.
Okay, thank you. Mary Bone.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Dr. Mary Bone. I am running for State Board of Education, and I like to say that my name is on those signs, but I'm not running for me. I'm running for your children and for my children and for all the children in District 10 and the children of Texas. I am currently a Round Rock ISD trustee. I've been on there since 2020, and I have seen everything you could imagine. We've seen the pornographic books in schools. We've seen children that are sent to schools to hate themselves. That's what they're taught. They're hate your country, hate yourself, hate your parents. And then we ask them, why do you have mental health issues? I don't think it shouldn't be a surprise. We send them to school, and Tom mentioned the health textbooks that the State Board of Education passed. They changed some of the terminology in those books from pregnant woman to pregnant person. That kind of stuff has to stop. I know it's a slight term change, but it's very confusing as a child to have that kind of terminology in their textbooks. In 2021, Governor Abbott did send the State Board of Education a letter directing them to get rid of the pornographic books in schools. I was on the board during that time, and at first we were told it was a local issue, and then it started popping up in many of the school districts. The State Board of Education did nothing. They allowed TEA, they abdicated their duties to TEA and said, hey, TEA put out a letter. The letter meant nothing. The pornographic books are still in Round Rock ISD. I know lots of these issues may not be in Burnet yet, but they are coming. We thought the same thing in Williamson, and now I'm fighting tooth and nail on my board to stop it. And that's why I want to go to the State Board of Education. One of the things I think a State Board of Education member has to do is we have to use our voice. We have to use our platform. We have to work with the legislators. I spent time this last legislative session at the Capitol working with legislators, making sure that bills like HB 900 were passing, and we need State Board of Education members that will continue to do that they will get legislation passed that either gives the State Board of Education the power or it sets laws that gets the stuff out of our schools. A little bit about my background. I have a PhD in systems engineering. I grew up in a rural community in poverty. My parents had my brother in high school. They got pregnant. But I wanted to be I actually wanted to be an astronaut, like every little kid. But I realized that, hey, that's probably not gonna happen, so I became an aerospace engineer. And then I got a PhD in engineering, and I've worked mostly for the Department of Defense, and now I work with NASA as a consultant. I've been solving complex system problems my whole adult life. If you send me into the State Board of Education, I will work on the education system in Texas, and we will make strides in fixing what is wrong and turning the ship around. My name again is Dr. Mary Bone, and again, I'm running for State Board of Education for your children, my children, and all the children of Texas.
And finally, we have our state representatives, District 19, Ellen Troxclair and Kyle Biederman. Yep. You each have 3 minutes.
Hi guys, it's so good to be here. I'm Ellen Troxclair and I'm your state representative. Oh, thank y'all. I was speeding back from Eagle Pass. I was at the border all day today at the request of Governor Abbott. We were there to support our Texas National Guard troops and our state troopers who are holding the line against our federal government. This last year, and it's working. It's working. Thousands of illegal immigrants were pouring across the border in Shelby Park when we were allowing Border Patrol access to that property. We have now completely secured it, kicked out the federal government, and now we have an average of less than 3 illegal immigrants crossing in that part of the border, and all of them are being arrested, detained, and returned to Mexico. I am honored to be the only candidate in this race that is endorsed by Governor Abbott because I am supporting his work securing the border as a member of the Homeland Security Committee who is in charge of making sure that we have his back and that he has the back of America and Texas in Biden's absolute abdication of his responsibility to keep Texas and America safe. Not only that, you guys know I am a woman of my word. In just 1 year, I have followed through on every single one of my campaign promises. Not only have we made a historic border funding investment, we have also banned gender modification on children, making sure that children are never having their body parts cut off before they're 18. We have banned inappropriate explicit performances in front of them. We have banned men from competing in women's sports so that women finally have a fair playing field. We have given retired teachers a much needed pay raise. We have banned COVID vaccine mandates, and we have made election fraud a felony. And that's just in my first year. I am just getting going. And that's why I am honored to have the endorsement of not just Governor Abbott, but also the only candidate in this race to have the endorsement of Congressman Chip Roy, of our Land Commissioner Don Buckingham, of Governor Rick Perry, of Texas Values Action, of Texans for Medical Freedom, Texas Alliance for Life, Life PAC, Americans for Prosperity, Young Conservatives of Texas, the Farm Bureau, the Law Enforcement Associations, the Homeschool Coalition, and more. None of that trash that you are receiving in your mail or on your phones is true, and I have the record to prove it. I wake up every day thinking about what I can do to make sure that we are protecting individual liberty and freedom in Texas. I will never give up. I will always continue fighting for you. This last year has been a whirlwind, but an honor, and I can't wait to wake up tomorrow and the next day, and hopefully on March 6th, and continue fighting for you. Again, I'm Ellen Troxclair, and I ask for your vote in this upcoming election. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Kyle Biederman. I live in Fredericksburg. I've lived in the district for 40 years. I've run my Ace Hardware store in Fredericksburg for 40 years, and I raised my children in Fredericksburg. But I also own a hardware store a hardware store and a feed store in Harper, Texas. My wife Barbie's in the back right there. We have worked so hard serving the people in our communities, farm and ranch community, our farm and ranchers, and just all of my customers. Customer service is number one when you're an Ace Hardware dealer. Being an FFL dealer also makes me put the Second Amendment more than just voting for a bill. I sell firearms to our citizens so we can protect ourselves, not just from criminals, but from a federal government that may come after us, and I've already seen that happening. So we gotta really be careful with that. I want to tell you some of the things that I have done when I've been in the legislature, but first of all, I want to say I would not have voted to impeach a Republican Attorney General that just got elected just 6 months earlier. I would not vote for a speaker that promised to do Democrat chairs. And I would not allow that to happen because the Republican Party of Texas had that as its priority. And yet we have too many Republicans that allowed that to happen. But the things that I'm really proud of is what the commissioners talked about tonight. What was their number one concern for Burnet County? Drugs, but water. 8 years ago, my freshman year, I started working on water issues, and I worked on them for 6 years in the legislature, but I didn't stop there. I am still working on water issues to the fact that I just met with Texas Water Development Board at the Capitol last week. I also worked on rock quarry pollution and strengthening the permits for concrete batch plants. I worked on that for the last all 6 years in the legislature, and I met with TCEQ even a month ago. And here's what's great. What we could not pass in legislature to be able to protect landowners next to these rock quarries and concrete batch plants, they are now listening to what we worked on in the legislature, and they're going to change it by rule. So the rulemaking is going to make it where a lot of these batch plants are not going to be conforming. They'll be non-conforming, and they're going to have to move their equipment further away from the property line. Both of those things were parts of my legislation. I just want you to know, as an Ace Hardware dealer, you are first. Customers are first. I will never sell out to the lobby or to the swamp in Austin. I'm going to sell out to my customers. They are who are my endorsements, and I've got thousands and thousands of them. God bless you. Just know what I did for my 6 years in HD 73. I'll do in HD 19. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's it for our forum. I hope that all these candidates have given you good insight to help you make the wisest decision that you need to make. But you need to get the word out. We've got to get people out to vote. These candidates are still available. If you have questions for them, feel free to go and ask any questions. And with that, Godspeed.